Hello everyone, Prime here, and I hope that you've had a very good day, because today we're going to be covering Anhur, or Anurus, some facts about him, lore, and all of that good stuff. So if that interests you, then you're in the right place, and let's get into this. So, Anurus, which I may go back and forth calling Anhur Anurus, and Anhur, Anhuret, Hanhur, Inert, or Anurus, could mean he who leads back the distant one, or sky bearer. He could be a king wearing a long kilt decorated with a feather pattern and wore a crown which housed 4 feathers. In a lot of his depictions, he's seen holding a spear or a lance, which has granted him the title the Lord of Lances, but he's not always holding a spear in every single depiction. The funny thing about this, though, is even the depictions in which he's not holding a spear, he's still drawn or sculpted in a way that shows him as if he were holding a spear of some sort, and sometimes he can be seen holding a rope. This is significant because he's considered to be a god of war, hunting, and soldiers. Suffice it to say, fighting is fairly important to him. He defended Ra from his enemies, earning him the epithet Slayer of Enemies. He was also expected to stand with Ra and defend him against the mighty Apophis, which, as we all know by now, or at least I'm hoping you've managed to pick up on the fact that Apophis was a pretty significant enemy of the quote-unquote good gods of Egyptian mythology. Egyptians held festivals including mock battles between the priests and the people. They used sticks to duel each other. These were ways of honoring Anhur or paying some sort of tribute to Anhur. In actual combat scenarios, the ancient Egyptians used anything from spears to slings to maces and even battle axes. Now previously I did say that Anhur is the Lord of Lances, but it would have been interesting if instead of going off of this specific interpretation of Anhur and using that as a main part of his kit, because you can tell that, his basic attacks are spears. His ult, he throws a bunch of spears, so he really does kind of carry that title of Lord of the Lances seems to have heavily influenced his current kit in Smite, but they could have done a different route where perhaps he's a stance changer, or perhaps even he could have more of a kit along the lines of Fafnir or Cuchulainn, where he transforms into something else and he has different weapons and can use a lot of weapons like that, or perhaps even something like Bellona's kit. But they chose to go the route that they went with Anhur, nice and simple, even though I personally believe Anhur's one of the most difficult gods to play in the game. Moving on to his relationships, as I may or may not have said already, he is the son of Ra. But also there's a very interesting story, and one of the main stories of Egyptian mythology as to how he gained his wife. You see, Anhur was either a lion, or as the standard with Egyptian gods go, just a man-looking deity. But when it came to claiming his wife, it's a variation of the story that you've probably heard on this channel before, in which Shu and Thoth go into the desert to retrieve the Eye of Ra and stop her from running amok. That variation on the story, except it's Anhur instead of Shu and Thoth, and the deity isn't the ambiguous Eye of Ra. It is, but she's a lion goddess and she has a very specific name. That name being Memhet. So after Anhur sort of tames Memhet and calms her down, he eventually marries Memhet after returning with her to the city of Ra. So that's the story of Anhur's wife. But here's the interesting thing. With Horus, he could be named Horus Anhur, an ideal warrior and a savior of those in battle. This combination of the gods was renamed. Forgive my perhaps failing pronunciation here, but Ari-es-Nefer, Horus of the Beautiful House. Ari-es-Nefer may have married Isis. Now, whether or not Anhur broke off his marriage with Memhet, or he just partook in bigamy, I believe it's called, too sure. But this does create a link between Anhur and Osiris. Negative or positive, very interesting to think on that. I'm not sure why the two of them married, or if it's got something to do with the relationship between Isis and Horus, and it's an ancient Egyptian tradition. Whatever the case, I wasn't able to find too much about that, so I'm sure you can leave speculations or thoughts about that in the comment section below. It'd be interesting to see what you think about that. But last sort of relationship within Smite that we're going to discuss is his relationship with Ares, which is kind of interesting. See, the Greeks and the Romans associated Anhur with Ares. You know how the Greek gods fled to the Egyptian deserts, and most of them assumed new forms as Egyptian gods. For example, Mercury and Thoth were linked in this way. Well, yes, Anhur and Ares. Now, funny thing is, in the Smite comics, Anhur is slain by Ares. Minor spoiler alert there, but I'm sure I'll probably put that up in text, so yes. But yeah, so that must be weird to a degree, right? If they're linked by the fact that they're supposed to be one and the same being, Anhur killing Ares, surely that must be like a funny thing. No? Well, okay, I thought that was an interesting little tidbit just to add there. But that's the video, guys. Sorry if it's surprisingly short. Like some of the Mayan gods, there really isn't that much to say about Anhur. Seems like he's a fairly simple god comparatively to the others. I hope that you did enjoy this. Thank you very much for watching. If you did, please go ahead and leave a like. If you're new to the channel, want to see more content like this, you would like to see a god of your own choosing covered soon enough, leave a request in the comment section below, and also I urge you to just look through the different gods that I've covered. I've covered over half of the roster already by this point, including a lot of fan favorites, so, you know, Loki, Nuwa. I think a lot of people liked Nuwa. Who was another highly requested god? I think Thanatos, Odin. Go ahead and check. But up now in the polls, you should be able to vote between Tyr, Apollo, and Zeus, if memory serves me correctly. And if you'd like me to add another god to the polls, well, you only need to leave a request in the comment section below. So, until the next video, I've been Prime. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.